Well, hey. Welcome to the Kim Constable podcast. Nobody cares. Work harder. Let me tell you, you should be bloody thankful that I am actually here doing this podcast this week, because I am fucking exhausted. I said to Ryan, oh my God, all right, I'm just going to go to the office and knock out this podcast. And he goes, really? And I was like, yep, it needs to be done. Can't let my listeners down. I've been a bit flaky with the podcast recently. So, and actually the fact that I came to the office and I'm knocking out this podcast at 7 p.m. on Wednesday evening, when I have been getting up at 4 a.m. every single day since Saturday to pull off the $1 Million Mentor launch, which is happening this Friday. We're relaunching the $1 Million Mentor program with a free 5-day challenge. And because we decided to do it so late in the day, because just the demand was so high, post-COVID, everybody kept asking, wanted a business program. People just want to not be working anymore in an office. They want to be in control of their own time, and they really want to know my secrets to growing and scaling an online business. And so actually this podcast, you guys are like streets ahead of the game listening to this podcast, because a lot of the things that made me successful I actually talk about in this podcast. But so we're launching a free training this Friday. It opens for registration this Friday, and it's called How to Create, Run and Scale Your Own 7-Figure Online Business. And I'm literally going to break down over a 5-day training the exact steps that I took to build my business. So there's the wee plug for the 5-day challenge happening this week. Even if you never joined the $1 Million Mentor, we have 3 epic options this time. But even if you never joined it and you just did the 5-day challenge, you're going to learn so much information, because as you know, I'm a bloody good teacher, very modest as well, Kim, and I also give away a huge amount of information for free. So look out for that this Friday. If you just go to themilliondollarmentor.com, it'll be on the homepage. You can sign up for the training, and that may be something you're interested in. But so why have I been getting up at 4 a.m? Well, because normally my team would pull together all the parts of a launch, because we normally give ourselves months and months and months and in a lead up to a launch. But because this one was so last minute, and actually Alan, who is my Chief Technology Officer, he runs a company. His dad is very, 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 very ill with terminal cancer. And so it's very touch and go at the minute. And we don't even know, how long he's going to last, which is really, really bad for poor Alan. And so because that's been going on with him, and because it was so late, I just said, you know what, guys, I'm going to pull together this launch. And oh my God, I've really enjoyed doing it. Now, of course, the team are still organizing it. Jamie Lee is still my project manager, director of operations. She is still, managing all the projects, and everyone's still doing their bit. But it's so much easier whenever I pull all the particulars together. And that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching in the $1 Million Mentor as well. That exact process. So, but here's the thing, right? I run a busy, big company. We have 30 full-time employees all over the world. And I train, I would do cardio in the morning with Ryan at about 8 o'clock. And then we train in our home gym, which I'm going to talk about today as well. And then I don't usually get to the office until about about 11:30, sometimes midday. And by the time I get here at midday, the whole world is alive and awake, and everybody wants my attention. Everyone has questions for me, and I never actually get a chance to sit down and do any work. I spend my whole time having meetings, which is great because I run the company and that's what I'm supposed to do. But so I realized that if I get up at 4 a.m, actually I've been getting up at 3:30 a.m, believe it or not. So I'm getting up at 3:30 a.m. every day, and I get to get at least 5 to 6 hours of uninterrupted work in. 4 a.m. usually I'm sitting at the computer working. So I get about 4 hours in. This morning Ryan had to go to Dublin, so I actually worked till midday. I got 8 hours of work done. And I've managed to pull together the whole launch. So, but of course, I still can't get to sleep at night when I go to bed, although I will sleep very well tonight because I've had a couple of naps during the day. What's that made? And then that's made me lie awake till about 11 or half 11, cursing the fact I can't sleep because I know I have to get up again in 4 hours. So anyway, the fact that I'm here in the office rambling away and telling you about, me giving myself a virtual pat on the back for being such a superstar and running my own company is kind of part and parcel of what I'm going to talk about today, which is going to tie it all in, because today I really want to talk about what it takes to be successful. What it takes to be successful in the gym is the same as what it takes to be successful at home, not at home. Okay, I really am losing my marbles. Maybe I should drink more whiskey. What it takes to be successful in the gym is the same as what it takes to be successful in business or in your relationships or in life in general. So I'm really going to talk today about what it takes to be successful. So whether you're listening for business purposes, whether you're listening for training purposes, or whether you just enjoy listening to me ramble on in your ear when you're doing a wee bit of cardio or walking your dog, I hope that you're going to get a lot from this episode because I think you're going to enjoy it. So before we get into the episode, I've just realized that the team were picking the winner of the podcast for this month, and I don't think anyone sent me through who the winner was, so I can't announce who the winner was. So I'm really, really, really sorry. I will announce that next week on the podcast who the winner was for May, but don't forget, if you want to leave a review for the podcast, we had a few more last month because of course I said that hardly anyone ever leaves a review, and so you have a great chance of winning, and then that doubled our reviews last month. So I think we probably had about 20 to choose from last month, which really actually isn't a lot. And we do choose from the best written 5-star review, by the way. You know, the one that really seems like it, you know, we have touched lives, because we like to use those as well for testimonials, which is a really, really good way to use for testimonials. So the better the review you write, the more likely you are to get chosen. Like if you just say, I'm just giving you tips for winning here, because it's not me who chooses them, because I can be biased, because I know a lot of my followers and a lot of my Instagram people who follow me, and so I don't want to be biased. But so the team chooses them because they don't know anyone, and they take a vote on them as well. So if you're just like, great podcast, that was awesome, listen, you're definitely not going to win, because it's not like a draw. It's whoever writes the most heartfelt review gets, or the funniest or the quirkiest or whatever, gets the program or wins the program. So if you want to leave a review anywhere you listen to this, it's preferable for me if it's on iTunes. Take a screenshot of it before you post it, because you don't know where it disappears to once you posted it, and send it to me on Instagram at The Sculpted Vegan, and you could be with the chance of winning any of our Sculpted Vegan programs. Okay, so what does it take to be successful? Sometimes I find it hard to plan these episodes, and I kind of think, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? And then, of course, it always flows because I'm a real blabbermouth and I can just chat for hours about the biggest pile of shite. So today, though, it's not one of those days. Today, even though I'm exhausted. Do you ever get whenever I'm not exhausted, actually, you know what? I feel on top of the world. I feel so purposeful. I have so much adrenaline. I feel like everything's flowing at the minute. And do you ever get like the harder you work, the easier it becomes? And definitely that's how I'm feeling at the minute. So this podcast episode really, really, really flowed for me. And I really want to break down, what does it take to be successful in the gym, or what does it take to be successful in business? Those are the two areas I've enjoyed. Well, actually, you know what? That's not true. I also have, in love and relationships, I have the most phenomenal relationship with my husband, Ryan, because excuse me, I just burped because we have worked so hard at our relationship. But today, okay, so how are we going to start? Well, let me tell you a story first. So last week, Brian and I went away to London. So I like to take my family away on vacations. Now that I'm filthy rich, I just love to spoil people, because that is part of the reason why I wanted to be really, really, really rich, was so I can buy people really nice stuff. So we like to take my family away on vacation. And because London had opened up, and even Belfast hadn't opened up yet, we've been on lockdown since Christmas. London had opened up, and I decided to take my family away to London to stay at a fabulous hotel called the Mandarin Oriental, and we had the most beautiful dinners and lunches, and we went shopping in Louis Vuitton, and I bought my sister a new purse and a wallet, and I got myself some lovely Tom Ford and Chanel, and it was just a very indulgent weekend, and it was wonderful. But we also overindulged in the champagne, has to be said. Although I never suffer from hangovers, because I do day drinking, and I match every single drink with a glass of sparkling water, so I'm never dehydrated, and I wake up hangover free. I literally have not had a hangover since I think I was about 20. So anyway, we got back from London, and we trained in London in the hotel gym on the Sunday morning, because we like to train chest and triceps in the hotel gym. And then we came home, and it was Monday morning, and I really did not feel like training legs. Normally we train legs on a Tuesday and we have Monday off. So I wasn't really wasn't really primed for training legs because I had, you know, quite a few drinks on the weekend, and then we got back quite late on Sunday, and I just, you know, my headspace just wasn't in it. And you know, like some days you're really, really pumped to train in the gym, and then other days it just takes a wee bit more of a mental effort. So that's how it felt on Monday. My body felt fine. We walked in the morning. I had energy, but I just felt like my head wasn't in it. So anyway, Ryan came down, he says, right, we're training legs. This is after breakfast. And I was like, oh, fuck, are we training legs? And he goes, yeah, come on, I'm all ready. And I was like, really? And he goes, well, you don't have to. I can just go on ahead and train. And that's very much Ryan, right? It's very much a man thing. I was like, no, you're not going to go and train without me. Don't be daft. And I said, okay, that's fine, we'll train. So anyway, dragged my sorry ass into the gym. And I thought, I know once I get going, I'll be fine, because that is what happens. You know, you never want to train. And then once you get in there and you get going, you're fine. You always say the hardest part of going to the gym is actually getting there. So I went into the gym. We did our first set of leg extensions, and I, you know, maxed out, went to full stack and leg extensions, worked really, really hard. And then it was into squats. And I've been pushing up in my free bar squat weight because I don't have my Smith machine in my new gym yet. We converted our garage into a gym, in a beautiful, fully equipped gym. It's absolutely fucking epic. Like, it cost me, what it cost me, $75,000, not even joking. So it's an absolutely phenomenal space. And but I haven't got my Smith machine yet. So we were doing free bar squats. So anyway, I loaded up the bar, did, you know, one set of squats, two sets of squats, did my third set of squats. And I think I don't know what I was doing. I wasn't doing that heavy. I think I did 40, 60, 80, no, maybe a bit more. I think I did 60, 80, 90, or 60, 80, 100. 60 kilos, 80 kilos, 100 kilos, and then I was going for 120 from a top set. And Ryan said, what weight do you want on? And I said, I don't know. I was like, I just didn't know if I was feeling the 120. I said, I don't know, maybe, I said, actually, just throw the 120 on, because that's what I've been squatting. So I said, just throw the 120 on. Ryan goes, okay, yeah. And so he's standing there waiting for me to decide, right? And I was like, I don't know, what do you think? And he was like, it's your weight, Kim, I'm not deciding for you. So I was like, oh, okay. I said, okay, just throw the 120 on. So we put the 120 on. Now, what I really wanted him to say was, go for the 120. I've got you. That's all I wanted, right? Because that's what Mark would have said. Mark would have said, sure, what's the worst that can happen? Mark would drop the fucking bar. No, you're all right. Sure, I've got you. You're not going to drop it. You're totally okay. Come on, you'll be fine. 6 reps. Just 6 reps and you'll be grand. Mark, whenever I'm not feeling strong, Mark will be my strength, right? And that's just the way I train. So I got onto the bar and I was just like, oh, my head wasn't in it, but I was like, come on. I was like, give myself a few, like, you know, groils and whatever. And I thought, right, go, Kim. So anyway, Ryan stood in behind me to spot me, and I inhaled, sucked up my smoothie through my straw using my vagina, pulled my navel to my spine, locked on my TVA and my transverse abdominis, and I lowered, and I was like, oh, I just wasn't really feeling, I thought, I don't want to go to full depth, because what if Ryan doesn't, what if I have like a failure point at the bottom and it goes into my back? I'm always afraid of hurting my back in free bar squats. And I went to parallel, but not below parallel, and went back up. And then I went to parallel again, and then went back up again. So Ryan is behind me, silently spotting me. So I go to 4 reps and I think, fuck, this is hard. So then I went to 5 and I pushed up. He's still not spotting me. He has his hands on my shoulders, but he doesn't need to give me any assistance. So then on the 6th rep, I went down, and he felt I had a wee sticking point at the bottom. So he kind of just pulled my shoulders back a little. So not lifting me up, just pulled my shoulders back to, and then I pushed all the way up, and I was like, oh, and I went, oh my God, I'm not feeling it today. And Ryan's still silent behind me. And I went, okay, 2 more reps. And Ryan's still standing silently behind me. And I went, no, do you know what? I can't do it. Boom. I said, I can't do it. And I racked the bar. And so Ryan steps away from me and sits down without saying a word. Okay. Now this is very Ryan. Ryan's not angry or punishing. He's not whatever. Ryan just trains very, very differently to me. And so anyway, I racked the bar, and then, you know, we started unloading the weights, and I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm going to cry. And I suddenly felt like the tears pricking the backs of my eyes. And I was like, I'm going to cry. And then, and so Ryan said to me, he goes, don't do deadlifts if you're not feeling it today. And I was like, no, I'm fine. And I was trying not to cry, because I didn't want to be a fucking crybaby in the gym, right? I didn't want him to go, oh, sweetie, what's wrong? And then we were like, I just feel so sad today. I don't Like, no, really? It's not fucking all about me. This is training session too. So not that I'm afraid of crying. I'm not. I was just like, I didn't want to make an issue out of it because it was my issue. So I started taking the weights off, and he took the weights off, and then he goes to me, are you sure? He said, you want to do deadlifts? I said, no, I'm fine, don't worry. And he was like, what's wrong? And I was like, nothing. And he was like, Kim, what's wrong? And I was like, nothing, please. I said, I'm totally okay, Ryan. I said, just give me a moment. I'm fine. I'll be fine. So then he comes over to me and he puts his hand on me, on my arm to hug me. And I went, no, don't hug me. Don't hug me. You'll just make me cry. And he went, what are you crying for? And then, of course, I burst into tears. Like, I don't know. I just feeling like I just can't even describe it. Of course, I started wailing in the middle of the gym. And he's like looking at me completely bewildered. Like, what the fuck are you crying for? It's like, I just don't know. It's just like, I just really... And I started trying to explain to him, right, what was wrong. I was like, really? I was like, and I just was like, why am I crying? But really what I wanted to shout at him was, I'm crying because you're not fucking there to support me. I need you there to support me whenever I need to be supported. I was struggling. I was emotionally struggling. And what I needed to fucking hear from you was, I got you. I'm here for you, babe. You don't need to worry. Come on, you've got two more. And you know why you've got two more? Because I'm right here with you. That's what I needed to hear. I needed him to be emotionally strong for me whenever I couldn't be emotionally strong for myself. But he couldn't even try that on, right? Why could he not try that on? Well, when I train, and I tried to explain to him, God bless his heart, and he really listened, and he was like, okay, I'm going to try and be better, and if you can just give me the rule. I was like, I can't give you a fucking rule. It's not a rule. I need you to feel it. I need you to feel when I need your support. He was like, I can't feel it. I don't even know what you're talking about. I was like, I'm going back to Mark. I'm going back to Lisburn to train with Mark. I can't deal with this shit in my training every day. So what's the point? What am I talking about? Well, when I train, right, when I do anything, I give it my all. I just cannot accept doing anything less than my all. Okay? I just can't. And so when I go into the gym to train, like, understand, I'm squatting. Like yesterday I dropped back in weight to go for full controlled depth yesterday, and actually it was brilliant. Ryan spotted me brilliantly because we had a really long conversation about it whenever we were walking, and we really tried on his side and my side. I even had to work this with my coach because it was such an issue for me. It wasn't such an issue, but I knew that if I was upset there might be an issue. And so whenever I train, I give it my all. And I this week I dropped back in weight, and I went back to 110 kilos. But Ryan is also squatting 110 kilos, right? We deadlifted 142.5 kilos. That's 320 pounds. So I'm squatting about 200 pounds. Or slightly more. I'm squatting 220. I'm squatting, oh God, I don't even know, 280 pounds. I think about 260, 280 pounds. And I'm deadlifting like 320 pounds. Okay. But Ryan is too. And Ryan is a man. And he weighs 20 kilos, which is 42 pounds, I think, or more than 50 pounds. I just can't do the calculations. He is like around 40 pounds, more than that, 45 pounds heavier than me. So really, he should be lifting a shitload more. But he doesn't. Do you know why he doesn't? Oh, because he has a niggle in his hamstring, and because he has no cruciate ligament in his knee and he doesn't want to damage it, and actually the last time that he went quite heavy in the incline hack squat, he damaged his hip and he had to get an arthroscopy. And I'm not saying these are not valid excuses, because they are, but I really hope Ryan never listens to this podcast. So actually it's not true, because I've said this to him loads of times. There's a part of me, no, there's not a part of me anything. Okay, what am I trying to say without being dishonourable to my husband? I believe that Ryan holds back, okay? And I don't believe that he holds back because of injury. I believe that he holds back in life because that's the kind of person that he is. And it's not a criticism, and I adore my husband. But because I'm the kind of person who gives it my all, I give my all to everything that I do, it's so hard for me to train with somebody who doesn't do that. Now, whenever I trained with Mark Getty is a monster. Like, he's a freaking mass monster. He has more muscle than any man I've ever seen in my life before. But Mark is that way because he's very like me. We're both the star sign Aries. Mark is if I'm going to train, I'm going to leave my soul on the gym floor. I'm going to crawl out of the gym, vomiting, spitting, sweating on my hands and knees, knowing that I gave my all to that workout. And that's the way I like to train. So the reason why I'm squatting, I mean, Ryan's weights, not even squatting, right? Even in lat pull downs, in bicep curls, in bench press, you know, Ryan is not in a bench press. I'm bench pressing 60 kilos for 10 reps. He's bench pressing 80 kilos for 10 reps. So he's not even benching that much more than me in a bench. And I am, you know, 20 kilos lighter than him. And it's not that he's not capable of more. It's that Ryan believes that if you push yourself a little bit and then a little bit more and then a little bit more and then a little bit more, you will progress. And it is true, you will progress, but you'll progress at a snail's pace. And so, you know, I am the kind of person that I will go in and I'll say, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? So, you know, I dropped the bar, so I can't get up from the squat. So, you know, I will always go to the very, very, very max that I can go to. I will go way beyond my comfort zone, whether it be in business, in the gym, in my relationships, in my body, anything, because that's the kind of person that I am. And I totally know where I got it from, because I remember actually a few years ago, I was selling I was selling a pram. You guys call it a stroller in America. We call it a pram over here. So whenever Corey was born, I bought him a stroller called a Bugaboo. And it was really expensive whenever we first bought it. It was over £1,000 for all the different components. And of course, then it did Kai and it did Maya, and I think it did Jack too. And so therefore, by the time Jack and my kids were, Corey is 16 and Jack is 9. So they're 7 years apart. I had 4 kids in 7 years. So after Jack had finished with it, I decided that I was going to sell it because it was still in really good nick. And so I cleaned it, scrubbed it, washed it, power hosed it. But there were a couple of wee bits and I ordered extra parts for it as well from Bugaboo itself, just to get into really prime condition, because that's the kind of thing I'm going to do. If I'm going to sell something, I know you're always going to be chosen top of the list and you're going to make more money if you really go above and beyond to make the product look perfect or as good as new as possible. And so anyway, but there was a couple of wee bits that just needed fixed on it. I can't even remember what they were. So I said to my dad, who owns a car dealership and he has a workshop, like a mechanics workshop. And I said to him, if I bring the Bugaboo down, can you just fix these couple of wee bits on it for me? Because we call my dad Mr. Fix-It. And so he was like, yeah, of course, no problem. So I brought the Bugaboo down and I said to him, like, you see here, I said, there's one wee bit, I can't even remember what it was, but there's one wee bit here missing and I wasn't able to get this from Bugaboo, and I know that if I could just, do you have something that could fix this? And he goes, oh, absolutely, I'll make something for that. So Dad's out in his workshop and he's getting this, and he gets this. Oh, I know what it was. There was it wasn't even a part of the buggy. It was like above the 2 front wheels, there were these like bits that were sticking up, and I don't know whether you could put like some kind of they were just for decoration, or you could put one of those, what do you call those things that you attach to the buggy that a toddler step with wheels on it? I don't know what it was anyway, but one of them was missing and it just made it look slightly unsightly. So Dad goes, I know how I can fix that. So Dad goes and gets the handle of a broom, okay? And he gets out a saw and he saws off a piece of the handle of a broom. And then he takes it to this angle grinder and he's like grinding it down so it's the exact proportion of the other one. And I was like, oh, well, this is a little more than I expected. It's a little bit above and beyond. So Dad grinds it all down and makes it and measures it. And I was like, Dad, I don't think you need to go to this effort. He's like, no. If you're going to do it, you have to do it right. So Dad's grinding it and sawing it and doing this. And then he fixes it and whatever. And all of this little piece of a broom handle, right? So then he gets glue. This like, no, it needs to be a really strong glue. No, but actually that's going to need a screw in it because that would come out. And if you knocked that against something, that would come off. God forbid something that Dad had fixed on the Bugaboo would come off in the future if someone knocked into it. He is not Mr. Half a Job. He is, if you're gonna do a job, you do it fucking right. So he took him about, I am sure, an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm not even joking. right? To grind and fix. And then he got out some kind of paint, and he matched the black paint to the paint of the thing, and he painted it, and then he dried it, and then he buffed it a wee bit to make it look the same, and then he fixed it on, and he screwed it, and then he fixed the other wee bit of it, and then and then I'm going to touch up those wee bits here, and he got out this polish, and he polished and touched up all these wee bits. Well, let me tell you, see, whenever the bugaboo was finished, it was as good as new. It looked absolutely amazing. To the naked eye, you wouldn't even know the changes that he made. And I was standing there watching him, laughing, thinking, oh my God, now I know where I get it from. I was obviously trained by my father, and I didn't even realize. Always knew Dad was like a bit of a perfectionist or whatever, and had perfect issues, but I didn't realize just how much I must have actually been trained by him. But as I watched him fix this bugaboo and settle for nothing less than perfection, to suffer nothing less than the best possible effort that he could put into it, I realized where I got it from. Dad was always like that. Like if we were, we grew up on wasn't a farm anymore, but we did still have a lot of animals. Dad had a car dealership. And if something in the yard needed fixed or painted or done, or, the yard was immaculate. There was never a blade of grass nor a leaf. I'm not even kidding. Like it was immaculate. Everything was painted, the upkeep was done, the grass was cut. Like it was a big yard. It was like a concrete jungle, big massive yard, car dealership. There was not one spot of rust on any piece of metal anywhere. He was an absolute and utter perfectionist, and he taught us all to be the same. He taught us to never, ever, ever give up while the job was not finished. Whether it be 10 o'clock at night and you were still brushing the yard or finishing up with the horses or feeding the dogs or all of the stuff that we used to do, Dad always taught us you always do it to the nth degree. And that's where I realized that I am like that. And when something needs done, right? When something needs done, you know what I do? I do it. I don't wait to do it. I don't write it on my list for the future. I do it. Like I use voice notes on my phone continually. Susie is my wonderful, beautiful executive assistant. And I leave, as soon as something comes into my mind, I leave Susie a message. I'm like, Susie, can you please, it's Elaine's birthday on Thursday. Can you please arrange, I've just remembered, can you arrange flowers to be sent to Elaine? There's something else, but I can't remember what it was. And then I go, oh, right, okay. Remember what it was. Can you please arrange for blah, 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 blah. And I just, anything that I need to be arranged by Susie, I just voice note it off to her immediately and it gets done. Now before, you're probably going, oh, well, that's all very well for you, but we don't all have assistants to do all of our shit for us. Well, listen, totally get it, but I didn't have a fucking assistant a few years ago either, and I was still this way. But the reason why I'm hyper efficient now and get so much shit done, there's a lot of swearing in this podcast today, isn't there? But the reason why I get so much done is because I have this trait. And so whenever I used to do the things myself, I got loads and loads of things done. Now that I have a full team of people to do them for me, I get even more done. But it's not the team that causes me to get a lot done. It's me as a person. I'm the kind of person who does a lot of shit that needs done. Do you know what Ryan does whenever something needs done? This sounds like I'm slagging Ryan off here, and I'm not. I'm just using it as a comparison because they always say opposites attract and we're very different people. When something needs done, do you know what Ryan does? He waits and he thinks about it and he assesses it and he considers it and he says to himself, yep, definitely must do that. And he writes it on his to-do list, but never really gets done. And case in point, we needed a new cistern for our toilet. Our house is 100 years old. I'm sure the toilet is also 100 years old. The cistern stopped flushing. It's one of those really old English cisterns, that's up really high on the wall and has like a big long pipe coming out of it, and it's got a big massive flush. Whenever you flush it, there's no efficiency of water in our house. It's and the water comes in and flushes it away. Well, the cistern stopped working, and because Ryan is the man of the house, and because I am now working full time and earning all the money, I have decided that Ryan needs to do a little bit more. And it's not that he is unwilling to do things, it's just that he doesn't do them fast enough for me. So I said to Ryan, you are the man of the house. Would you be willing to take care of the toilet problem? And he goes, oh yeah, sure, no problem at all. Yeah, I'll do that. So the next week I said to him, well, Ryan, have you fixed the toilet yet? Oh, yes, that's right. I must do that. So next week, Ryan, what about the toilet? Is anything happening with the toilet? Oh, yes. I was looking at cisterns online. I said, don't look, Ryan, just choose one. Doesn't fucking matter what it looks like. Just choose a cistern. Oh, right. Okay, I'll do one. Week later, Ryan, what about the cistern? Oh, yes, right, I must get to do that. Week later, Ryan, is the toilet fixed? Oh, no, I have chosen a cistern. I just need to go to the Boucher Road and pick it up. Okay, next week, Ryan, what about the cistern? Oh, yes, no, we need to go to the Boucher Road next week. Ryan, have you got... I swear to God, this went on. Do you know how long it took for our downstairs toilet to be fixed? 8 months. People kept coming into our house and going, my mum would come in and go, have you still not got that toilet fixed? And I would look at Ryan and go, are you fucking serious? But here's the thing, I refused to fix it. I could have had that toilet fixed, a plumber booked, the toilet fixed in 4 days. Right? Literally 4 days. And it took Ryan 8 months to fix that toilet. And almost nearly caused a divorce in our house. And we actually got to a point one day where I was like, we need to have a serious talk about our relationship because I'm not happy anymore. Because I was like, I cannot live this way. I cannot live with this type of apathy. Like it's just not how I'm built, but I also can't do everything. I need you to do something. And so eventually the toilet did get fixed, but it really did just show me, how I am the kind of person who does hard shit, who just gets it done. I'm willing to be uncomfortable. Now, here's the thing about my husband. Ryan is not willing to be uncomfortable. He prefers to not risk being uncomfortable. Because success is important to him, but being comfortable is more important to him. So when we're training in the gym, Ryan will go to the edge of his comfort zone. Sometimes he'll push a little bit past into failure. He'll say, no, how you build muscle, how I've decided is the best way for me to build muscle is keep perfect form the whole way through and just fail on the last rep or fail on the last 2 reps. But Ryan and I have very, very different views of failure. Like whenever I'm failing, I'm like... Like anyone who watched my Instagram story yesterday, I pulled a deadlift. It was 142.5 kilos. It was my heaviest deadlift I've ever pulled because I swore I would never deadlift again. But now here I am enjoying it. And I screamed the whole way to the top. I was not letting that deadlift stay on the floor. And oh my God, at the top, I was like, fuck. And I was like, right, let's go. And I pulled it for 5 reps. I probably could have done another one, but I was happy with the 5. And so I will literally willingly go into discomfort in every single situation in life. I do not avoid discomfort. I am not a comfort avoider. I am a discomfort seeker. But most people, and I would say 80% of the world is like this, most people are discomfort avoiders, which means that they will get a little bit uncomfortable. Just a little bit uncomfortable. I see this all the time with people starting and growing online businesses. They'll say to me, oh my God, right, what do you need to do to be successful? And I'll say, well, here are your numbers. You will sell 2% of registrations, which means if you have a 997 product, you're going to sell 2% of registrations, which means that if you register 1,000 people, you're going to make 20 sales, right? You're going to make $20,000. So you can spend $10,000 comfortably on ads to get those 1,000 people to make $20,000 because then you've got a $10,000 profit. And they go, $10,000 on ads? And I go, yep. And they go, oh, but I don't have that kind of money. And I'm like, I know, but 2%, you'll always sell 2%. If you do everything correctly, like I've told you, you'll sell 2%. And they go, I said, so you're making $20,000 anyway. So you're still in profit. And then you use that money to reinvest and grow. And they go, oh, okay, right, okay. So then I say to them, oh, how was your launch? And they go, it wasn't really very good. I only had 2 people sign up. I'm like, only 2? And I say, how many people did you have register for your challenge? Well, only like 100. I'm like, oh, well, why do you only get 100? Oh, because I was afraid to spend that money on Facebook ads. And so, and I said, well, how much did you spend? Oh, just under 1,000. I'm like, okay, so you did really well. You spent £1,000. You got 1,000, or you got 100 registrants. That's normal. And you sold 2%. So you sold 2. So exactly what I told you was true. You sold 2%. Had you spent 10,000, you would have got 20, you would have got 2,000 registrants or whatever the numbers were, and you would have sold far more. But people don't want to risk. Okay. They push to, like, oh, what would I be comfortable spending on Facebook ads? And they go, oh, 1,000 is all I'm comfortable spending. You know what I did whenever I ran my first launch? I said to myself, how much can I afford to lose? I didn't have any money, but I was like, how much can I afford to put on a credit card to fund this launch and still be able to pay it back, even if I didn't make a penny? And I knew that it would take me a long time to pay it back, but I was like, how much can I afford to spend? So I realized I could afford to spend $14,000, which was about £10,000, $14,000. And so that's how I made my decision. It wasn't what feels comfortable for me, because what felt comfortable to me whenever I was doing my first launch was zero, fucking nothing. I was terrified. But I spent £10,000. I made $52,000. So I spent $14,000 and I made $52,000. And so my hypothesis was correct, because I had run the numbers. I'd done the math. I know that sales is just a game of math. And I knew that I would do anything that it took to sell in those webinars. And I made $52,000. So, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be cautious with money, you should, but what I'm saying is possibly your cautiousness is the thing that's holding you back from being successful, whether that is in business or whether that is in life. And you can train yourself to be this way. You really can train yourself to be this way. And if you take a risk and now suddenly you're hyperventilating, well, just be present with yourself and be like, oh my God, I'm fucking hyperventilating. I take risks in business all the time. But I guess for me, what I have is I have this inbuilt determination, this inbuilt belief in myself that I can get myself out of sticky situations. But do you know why I believe I can get myself out of sticky situations? Because I've gotten myself out of some fucking seriously sticky situations in the past. So I have a lot of data. I've gotten myself out of being arrested, out of doing drugs, out of fucking like all kinds of crazy shit my parents didn't know that I was getting up to when I was a teenager. I got myself out of all kinds of crazy shit whenever I started my business, whenever I started bodybuilding. I've taken risks with my training. I've squatted 220 kilos. I've, on the incline hack squat, I had £100,000 on a credit card bill last year when the fucking pandemic hit. And do you know what I did? I said, you will not hold me down. And I went on to have the best financial year I've ever had in the business. We made nearly $5 million in revenue in the middle of a global pandemic. Were we all exhausted? Yes. But did we go down in flames? No. Why didn't we go down in flames? Because I am not the kind of person who will allow myself to fail. And that is the attitude that you need to have if you are to be successful in the gym or if you are to be successful in the business. Because the kind of person you are or the kind of person you train yourself to be will determine the level of success that you have. If you just go a little bit out of your comfort zone and then a little bit more and then a little bit more and then a little bit more, you will never ever see any kind of measurable success. You may die or retire before you ever see $1 million or you ever see, melon crushing thighs or the spectacular body that you have dreamed of. If you're in your 50s listening to this and you are just going a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, sister, you ain't ever getting fucking shredded before you're like in your grave. You're really not getting jacked, especially if you're in your 50s, right? It's going to take you far too long. It took me 5 years to get completely jacked. And I've just described you the kind of person I am. I leave my soul on the floor. If you only put in a quarter of the effort I'm putting in, you're going to get a quarter of the results. You know what 5 is a quarter of? 20. You're going to be in your 70s by the time you see my kind of success, because most people will never ever do what I do in the gym or in business. And you know who I recognized has this trait actually? My son Kai, who is really my nemesis. I've talked about him on this podcast before. I adore him, but holy shit, he has been a difficult, individuating teenager up until about the age of 14. But something happened recently, and here's what happened, right? Kai decided to go back to school. And all of my kids, I have to be honest, I really did feel like a bit of a failure as a mother. I was like, I really feel like I failed my child that he wants to go to school. No, I'm only joking. I really didn't. But I was a bit disgusted. I was like, really? This is what I'm going to have to fucking do homework and shit with, and pick you up. I'm far too busy to be picking you up and dropping you off from school. And he was like, no, it's fine. I'll walk. And no, it's fine. I'll figure it out. And I said, no, of course, son, if you want to go to school. It was actually me suggested it. Actually, I'm kind of saying all this in jest. I didn't really want him to go to school because it's inconvenient. And I don't really believe school teaches you anything worthwhile. But he wanted to go, and he wanted to go and, make more friends and be more sociable. And he has decided that learning is beneficial to him, even the kind of learning they do in school. And he wanted to go. So I'm here to support whatever it is my children want to do. So Off he went to school. Now, what I have realized about Kai is he is so like me. He has all the traits that I have. He is disciplined and persistent, and he is absolutely OCD. And here's what happened. He only started school 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago at the time of this recording. And within 2 weeks, his teacher told me that he is at the same level in mathematics as the rest of his class. And Kai has never taken a mathematics lesson is in his entire life. The headmaster called to have a chat with me, as they do, after the first couple of weeks. How's Kai settling in? Is he enjoying it? Whatever. And he said to me, has he ever had a mathematics class? You said he hasn't had any formal schooling. And I said, no, he's never had any formal schooling. And he said, well, he's picked it up exceptionally quickly. And I said, well, he's been very, very persistent in his efforts. And of course, I came home the other night and he was like, can you help me with my homework? And I said, yeah, well, what is it? And he goes, oh, it's fractions. It was adding and subtracting and multiplying fractions. I was like, oh my dear God almighty. I don't even fucking remember what a fraction is. Never mind how to subtract it and multiply it and whatever. So I sat down. I said, right, Kai, let's go. Google, teach me how to multiply fractions. So Kai and I sat there from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m., which nearly killed me because I knew I was having to get up at 3:30. So we sat there from 9 till 11 p.m. and Google taught us how to add, subtract, and multiply and divide fractions. And we realized there's really just a formula for each of them. And once you learn the formula, it's really simple. And so we did that. And then he was doing quadratic equations and areas of triangles and all this kind of stuff. We didn't do all that night, but that's what he's been doing since. And Kai has literally, through Google and textbooks or however, and mostly through Google, because we call it the University of YouTube, you can learn anything from YouTube. So YouTube and Google have basically taught Kai high school math in under 2 weeks. Why? Because he's persistent, he's disciplined, he's determined, and he wants it. He sees the benefit of it and how it's going to help him, and he wants it. And he's been staying up every night studying until 11 or midnight. We have no bedtimes in our house. Our children always choose when they go to bed and when they get up. We've never had arbitrary rules of bedtime. So he stays up to whatever time suits him, 11 or 12. Every morning he is out of bed. I hear his alarm go off at 7:30 a.m. This morning he got up at 7 a.m. because he had some homework that he wanted to study before he went into school. So every morning he gets himself out of bed, he gets himself to the kitchen, he makes himself his lunch, even though we have a private chef. And I always say, Lee will make your lunch. He says, no, it's fine. I want to make it myself. And he has literally done more in the last 2 weeks, more socializing with his friends, schoolwork. He plays tennis, has private tennis lessons twice a week. He has personal training twice a week. He's only 14. All my kids do. And he does Chinese lessons twice a week. So he's moved his Chinese lessons to the evening. He now does them from 8 to 10 p.m. twice a week. And he has been the most focused and disciplined child I think I've ever met. Now, why is he this way? Well, of course, he probably has a little bit of this naturally. He's not an Aries, actually, like me. He's a Taurus, but he probably has a little bit of this naturally anyway, because Corey, his eldest brother, is so like Ryan. Corey's very, very disciplined and focused, but only on the things he kind of enjoys. And so therefore, whereas Kai is much, much more like me. But why is he this way? Well, of course, some of it is nature. But one of the things I've always allowed my children to do is to get uncomfortable. Okay. And Kai was getting more and more and more and more uncomfortable with being homeschooled. And we've never homeschooled our kids. We've never done any formal curriculum with them whatsoever. None. Not one single lesson, any child ever. And so, but Kai was getting to the point where he went through kind of an awkward stage where he didn't want to go to volleyball and he didn't want to, see any other friends or kids, apart from like one or two close friends that he had. And he didn't want to go to school and he didn't want to do this. So he went through this stage where he got really, really, really uncomfortable. And he was always saying, I'm so bored, there's nothing to do. And I was like, Kai, you are a 14-year-old boy and you are perfectly capable of entertaining yourself. I have to work. I have to work to provide for this family, and I cannot provide you with entertainment all day. That is your responsibility. And so I allowed him to get bored, and he got more and more and more shitty and shirty, and he occupied himself by being mean to me, and I just let him be mean to me. I didn't let him, actually. I was like, it's not acceptable. Don't do that. But I could see him getting more and more and more and more uncomfortable, and I was like, please God, let him get so uncomfortable that he is forced to change, because nothing I suggested was going to change, and I wasn't going to force him to do something against against his will. Because if I forced him to go to school or forced him to go to clubs or do something against his will, then he was just going to get defiant. But whenever a child is individuating, they're already defiant. So you don't want to give them anything else to defy. So anything Kai wanted, I was like, sure, sweetheart, no problem at all. Sure, whatever you want. Absolutely. Yep. You want to do it? Absolutely. As much as I could, I said yes. Until I realized sometimes he was just playing with me because he just wanted to entertain himself. And then I realized what was going on and I said no. So anyway, I was like, please God, you let him get so uncomfortable that he wants to change. And it happened one day. He came to me and he said, because I kept saying, why don't you go to school? And he was like, I don't want to go to school. I'm not going to school. What if I got there and I didn't like it? And I was like, well, if you got there and you didn't like it, I said, you can go and try it. Why don't you just go and try it for a couple of weeks? I said, I'm sure they won't make you stay if you don't like it after a couple of weeks. So anyway, it literally got to the point where he was so lonely and so uncomfortable and so bored that he came to me one day and he said, I want to go to school. I said, great, let's enroll you in school. So we did. And I really worked hard to give him everything that he wanted. And because he got to such a point of discomfort, he changed. I always say that human beings will only change when change becomes easier than staying the same. So staying the same became so uncomfortable for Kai that suddenly he chose another option, which was going to school. And it's been the best thing that has ever happened to him. It's been the worst thing that's ever happened to me because now I have all these, well, actually I don't do the school runs. I have to say Ryan or Lorraine, our housekeeper, does them. And I did do a couple of runs today because Ryan was in Dublin. But so like it really doesn't fall to me. But unfortunately, Ryan still defaults to me and goes, oh, what about this? And what about this? What do you think about this? I'm like, Ryan, you just have to fucking sort this out, okay? I raised our children for the first 14 years of their life. Now it's your turn. So, but anyway, it's been really good. But why? So what is the point in this? So my point in this very long-winded story is that I've raised all my kids to believe that they can take care of themselves. I've raised them all to believe they can take care of themselves. If they want something, they can learn it, they can find it, they can research it, or they can work for it. I stopped brushing my children's teeth and putting them to bed whenever they were about 6. Jack is 9. He's been putting himself to bed at whatever time he wants to go to bed from he was 6 years old. He brushes his teeth, he baths himself, he goes to the kitchen, he gets cereal. Ryan and I have been going to bed before our children for the last 3 to 4 years. But I think before Jack was 6, I think the older ones put him to bed if we wanted to go to bed first. Our kids know they're respectful. They know to be quiet when we're sleeping. They don't stay up really late. Maya goes to sleep about 11. Kai now goes to sleep 11 or 12 because he has to get up earlier. Corey told me last night he was in bed at 3 a.m. Jack usually goes between midnight and 2 a.m. Except whenever he has something on the next day and then he goes earlier. But they choose their own bedtimes. They recognize when they feel tired. They know how to research things because they have a lot of time for self-reflection. They're not constantly busy and being moved from here to here to here to here, from sports activity to after school club to class to whatever. They have a lot of time for meditation and reflection. They have a lot of time to figure out what's important to them and what they like. And they have the time and the resources to go and get the answers to the questions that they have. So they are great researchers. They know where to go to find the answers to problems. They are solution finders. All of them, every single one of them. And so that is why Kai has been able to integrate into school so quickly, because we have brought our kids up to go and find solutions to their problem, to understand that if they have a problem, they can solve the problem. And usually you can solve it with a little bit of grit, hard work and determination, okay? Not through forced chores or forced earning. I've never made my kids earn their pocket money. We just give them 20 quid a week each, 20 pounds a week each pocket money. Every single one of them gets the same amount. It's a lot for some young children, but I always wanted to give them enough so they had enough to save and enough to spend. So they've managed their own money for years and they all have hundreds of pounds in their bank accounts. They'll have their own bank accounts and cash cards. Even Jack, he has his own PayPal account and he transfers his own money to himself every week. I don't transfer his pocket money. He goes into my PayPal account and he transfers his own money to his PayPal account from mine. He has all the passwords. That level of trust when you give it to your children is completely and utterly life-changing for them, because they learn from a very young age that they are in charge of their own lives. Do they make mistakes? Yes. Have I lost bank cards? Yes. Have I failed? Yes. Have they forgotten that they've transferred money before and spent it on something else and then I've been out of pocket? Yes. But what I do is I make them pay it back, or sometimes I don't, and I say, don't worry, honey, failure happens. I'm not going to punish you for it. It's totally okay. But we've raised them with really, really good standards in life, and we've given them autonomy over their own lives and their own freedom, which has caused them to be producers as adults. Now, what does this have to do with training in the gym, you're probably asking, because I am going to bring it back to training in the gym or to being successful, where I just wanted to kind of give you the points as to where, especially if you're a mother or a father listening to this, that you can really apply these principles with your own children. The more freedom you can give your children, the less control you exert over them, and the less you punish them and make them bad for their choices or for the mistakes they make or the failures that they have, the better adults you're going to raise. You're going to raise purposeful, joyful, disciplined adults who know that they can be producers in their own lives. And that's what I'm seeing now as my boys are getting into their teens. Maya's 11. They are the most incredible children. It's not just me says it. People say it to me constantly. Maya's just started riding lessons she has her own pony. She has done for years. She's going to start competing in 3-day eventing. And so, not 3-day eventing, just eventing actually. And so I got her this incredible event rider as a teacher. And she said to me last night, I have never taught a child like Maya. And I said, in what way? She said, she really listens. She listens. She's not defiant. She doesn't say, I can't or I won't. She doesn't, try and wrestle with me to have her own way or to get out of doing things. She said, I've never taught a homeschooled child before, and I can tell you the difference is absolutely and utterly palpable. And I said, really? And she said, no, honestly, you have no idea. She said, every child I teach is just difficult. And it's consistent. The behaviors are consistent among them. And I said, well, you're an adult, and homes and school children generally have learned that adults want to get them to do things that they don't want to do. And so they fight for their freedom and their autonomy. They're defiant, or they will push back as a default because they're constantly told what to do by their parents and by their school teachers. And so therefore, children develop this constant pushback as a default because they spend their lives being told what to do. My children have never spent their lives being told what to do, so they're not fearful of adults. And if an adult says, who they have, in a discipline that they want to do, like horse riding, and someone says, jump this, try this, do this, they're not going to say no. They're going to trust the person. Okay, well, I'm trusting that you are going to help me move towards my goal. And I don't think that you're putting me in danger, so I'm going to give it my best shot. And that's what they do, even at 11 years old. So, and I know that you guys love me talking about parenting on the podcast, so I just thought I'd throw a wee bit of that in as well. But here's the thing, right? I didn't actually learn. I want to finish by saying that I don't want you to think that I was always this way. Like, I kind of was always this way, as in, like, I was the kind of person who would be very intensely focused on anything that I took on. So any endeavor or hobby or anything I took on, I never just did it like my dad with the bugaboo. I never just did it a little bit. I would go all in. Like, if I decided I was going to eat a raw food diet, I went all in on the raw food diet. When I got pregnant and I had babies, I decided I was having home births. And if I could have had a husband-assisted home birth with no midwives there, I absolutely would have, but my husband was determined that was not going to happen. So I had midwives at home, but I had home births with my kids. And so whenever I did yoga, I became a yoga teacher. I did Ashtanga yoga. I did I was doing back bends and press handstands and arm balances and all the advanced yoga stuff, because I wasn't just going to do yoga. I was going to do the best yoga to the best of my ability. And so I've always been that way, but I guess one thing I did lack was the consistency to follow through over the long term. And so I remember my aunt saying years ago, it must have stung me, but now I use it as a teaching point now, but she said years ago when I was about 20, she said, oh, Kim, if only you could, I think it was about 24 actually, she said, oh, Kim, if only you could stick at something, you would be very successful. And I was like, well, that's hurtful. But it was true. Like, I was always going hell for leather into some kind of endeavor, and then I would jump sideways, and then I would jump sideways, and then I would try someone else. People do this with my programs, right? With not my programs, with all fitness programs. They go hell for leather into one program, and then they go, I'm a wee bit bored. And so they go to another program. Oh, this keto diet, this is going to be amazing. This is what's going to change my life. I'm finally going to get really thin. And then after a while, keto doesn't really suit me. So then they change again. Oh no, I'm doing acupuncture for weight loss, and this acupuncture is going to be amazing. And then I'm not really seeing the results of acupuncture, so I'm going to go over here. No, I'm doing intermittent fasting. And you get the drift, right? So this is how people do business. This is how they do life. This is how they do fitness. But if you want to transform your levels of success, you have to be willing to take risks, like I was talking about in the beginning, to walk into discomfort, to not only walk into it, to embrace it, to love it, to accept it as the new reality in your journey to success. And you have to be able to stay consistent. You have to be able to be consistently uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable more than you're comfortable. In a 24-hour period, apart from when I'm sleeping, I am uncomfortable more than I'm comfortable. But here's the thing. Being uncomfortable is actually comfortable for me. Doing the hard thing is easy for me. Doing the hard thing is easier for me than doing the easy thing. Does that make sense? It's easier for me to be persistent, to go all the time, to be energetic, to be sitting here recording the podcast at 8 o'clock at night, even though I've been up from 4 a.m. You know, it's doing the hard thing is easier for me than doing the easy thing. If I lay on the couch all night watching fucking MasterChef, I would be like, oh my God, like having so much anxiety because there'd be so many things I could be doing, so much of life I was missing out on, so many opportunities to make things better, whether it be physically, emotionally, in my life, in my house, in my body. I always think there's something to be done. Life is designed to be lived, you know? But I wasn't always this way. I was kind of, but I'll tell you what changed for me. I remember whenever I was younger and like in my teens or in my teens and my late teens and my early 20s, when I left university and I went out into the working world, I always wanted to be rich, right? I always wanted to be rich, but I kind of wanted to be rich and comfortable at the same time. And unless you inherit a lot of money, but I have a friend who's a very, 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 very wealthy heiress. And let me tell you, she is not happy. So money does not make you happy. But she's miserable in comfort, of course, but it's not that she's not happy. She is happy, but she's certainly not like ecstatic like you would imagine every day having all this money. And so, but I always, interestingly, many people don't believe this whenever I tell them, but I wanted to be rich, but I wanted to be comfortable. And so I thought the best way to be rich but comfortable was just to marry a millionaire, marry a rich man, or to marry at least a man who could work very hard and had a lot of prospects and seemed to be able to make a lot of money. Because I just wanted to be, it's not that I wanted to be comfortable, but I kind of wanted to do the things that I'm doing now. I wanted to have enough money to be able to throw parties for my family every weekend and take them on expensive vacations and buy Louis Vuitton and Chanel and, you know, drop, you know, $100,000 on a vacation to Australia if I wanted to and fly my whole family first class. Like I wanted to live an expensive life. I've always wanted to be rich, and I make no excuses for it or no apologies for it. I make no apologies for it. I always wanted to be rich, but I didn't know how to be rich. I didn't know how to do it. But not only that, I wanted it faster. I didn't want to work all those years to be rich. I wanted to have it faster. Just like people want to pretend that they haven't been abusing their bodies for the last 20, 30 years and now they want to be thin. When they make the decision and they want to be thin so badly that they will do anything. They will do acupuncture or Weight Watchers or intermittent fasting or keto, or they will do all of these different fad diets or take skinny teas or fat burners or injections or cryolipolysis or what's the other one? You get fat sucked out of your thighs, like liposuction. They will do all of these things for quick fixes because they know that actually what it will take to transform their body in the long term is a lot of fucking hard work over a long period of time. But nobody wants to do that. We all want the quick fix. We want it now. We want it fast. We want it quicker. We want it tomorrow. And we are impatient. And that is why there's a lot of fat, unhappy people in the world because they're just not willing to work hard. But I understand it. And this is you. You're like, oh my God, she's talking about me. I don't judge you because I was never that way with weight. But I was like this with money. I wanted to be rich. I promise I wanted to be rich. But I thought the best way to be rich was just to marry a rich man. And so I dated a lot of very rich men who were knobs and I never wanted to marry any of them. And I realized that I really just could not marry for money. I had to marry for love. And so then I met Ryan, who was an ex-famous rugby player who had his own company, who had a lot of prospects. And I was like, and I just fell head over heels in love with him. And so I was willing to compromise being super rich for a man with a very hot body who I absolutely loved and love even more this day. And so, but I always wanted to marry a rich man because I just kind of wanted to live a really nice life. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and I wanted to meet the girls for coffee and, you know, and go on girls trips and nice family holidays and stay in nice hotels. I actually really wanted to be lazy, I guess. And I wanted to be like a wag, like or like a, you know, like a wealthy stay-at-home mum. And no, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but that is what I wanted. And so anyway, then so years and years and years, I had this dream that one day a man would say to me, sweetheart, I never want you to return to work. I just want to take care of you. And then Ryan, one day, we were driving in the car and he said those magical words to me. I was pregnant with Corey. Unexpectedly, I got pregnant after 2 weeks. Trapped him. And so, sham marriage. We were traveling in the car and I was pregnant with Corey. And I can't remember, I was talking about something and Ryan said, Kim, I don't care if you never go back to work. Because I was talking about when I go back to work. And I was like, really? The magic words. He said the magic words. And I went, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, like, my mum was always at home. He said, I would love for you to stay at home and raise our children. And I would love nothing more than that. And I was like, oh my God, you're like the best thing that's ever happened to me. I can't believe that someone would ever say that to me. Like, I really thought that this was just like the best thing that had ever happened to me ever in the world. And I was so grateful. And so I marched joyously into being a stay-at-home mum, and we kept having babies and babies and more babies. And Ryan's company grew and he made some really good financial decisions. But Ryan does finances like Ryan does the gym. He takes a little bit of risk and a little bit of risk and a little bit of risk, and every risk is calculated and mitigated. And so therefore our finances grew in line with Ryan's comfort zone, right? He got a little bit uncomfortable and they grew a bit more, and a little bit more uncomfortable and they grew a little bit more. But after, I think, 10, what age was Corey when Jack was born? I'm trying to think. It was after Jack was born, which was 9 years ago. We were married in 2000. God, I can't remember now. We're married in 2010, I think. But we were together since 2005. We got together at the start of 2005. This is now 2021. So we're together, oh my God, I can't even count. What is that? 16 years? We're together 16 years. So 9 years ago, just after Jack was born, we were together 7 years. And I realized that Ryan was never going to be rich enough for me. Ryan, I realized, was not the kind of person who was going to make a shed load of money, which is what I thought he would do. And I was going to reap the rewards of it, because I was at home raising our 4 fucking children, like breaking my back raising our children, co-sleeping, breastfeeding, like doing all the cleaning, the cooking, the ironing, doing this. And he was out at work every day. And dear God, I wanted to see just a little bit more produce for all the effort I was putting in raising these children while he was out working. And so I realized one day that the cold water of reality washed over me, and I realized that Ryan was never, ever, ever going to provide me with the life that I wanted. And if I wanted to have more in my life than I currently had with Ryan, it was going to be up to me to create it. And I did. And so I started foraying into the world of online marketing after Jack was born 9 years ago. I was going to write a blog, and then that turned into writing an ebook. And then I did write a blog, and I started a website and started another website, and I watched webinars, and I found out about Pinterest, and I found out about Facebook, and I watched every single free webinar that existed in the world. And I read books, and I hired web designers, and I lost loads of money, and I made a little bit of money, and I lost even more money. And I learned about email marketing and Aweber, and I learned about the back end of websites and WordPress. And I just kept teaching and teaching and teaching and teaching myself, thinking that at least I'm moving forward. And I knew if I just kept searching, one day I would find the idea. And what I didn't realize was all of that work I did to learn about internet marketing, which never made me any money in itself. I was trying to start online businesses in the coaching sphere, but I wasn't a coach. I didn't know how to coach people into starting really successful businesses, and I wasn't a Facebook ads expert or nothing like that. So it was only as I started training as a vegan bodybuilder, quite accidentally, a few years later, that I was then able to launch the Sculpted Vegan, which grew, which launched in 2017. And within its first, so 18, 19, 20, 21, it'll be 4 years this October. So at the end of our financial year in 2020, our turnover was nearly 5 million. And I did that in 3.5 years. So in 3.5 years, we went from 0 to a 5 million turnover, and I did it all myself. I didn't borrow any money. I didn't get any, of course I got lots of help from people, but not really, only people that I hired. I grew my Instagram following to 420,000 followers, and I grew a team of 30 people worldwide. And I did all of that while still looking after and raising my children and sculpting my body in the gym. And when I could afford to, I hired help. I hired my housekeeper. And then I hired, Alan, who is my chief technology officer. And then I hired, Jamie. And so the company grew. So I hired people in to help me. And then I hired Lee, our chef. That took a massive pressure off me not having to cook at home. But in the beginning, I did it all myself. And so what is the moral? What is the moral of the story? And what does this have to do with training? Well, what I realized was that, like I said, if I wanted it, I had to build it myself. No one was coming to save me, okay? Like Kai, he got so bored that he realized he did not want that life. And so he changed it. And he's very focused and purposeful to change it. But you don't have to have a moment like I had. You don't have to have the cold water of reality washing over you in order for you to change. You can just decide to change right now. And so what does this have to do with training? Let's go back to the original point where I cried in my first squat. Well, I am the kind of person who seeks discomfort. I seek it out. I look for it. I embrace it. It feels comfortable to me. But Ryan isn't that way. He can't even try on what it's like to be me because he avoids discomfort. He goes to the edge of his comfort zone and no more, then to the edge of his comfort zone and no more, and then to the edge of his comfort zone and no more. It's like, it's like a baby who only walked like 5 steps a day, and then the next day maybe 6 steps, and then the next day 7 steps, instead of just realizing one day, fuck me, I can get up and I can walk all day. It's, always preserving a little bit of yourself. So that's the way Ryan is. And so he's not a good training partner for me because he doesn't intuitively understand what I need, because he can't understand what it's like to get under a squat bar or pull a deadlift off the floor where you literally feel like you're gonna shit yourself. I get nervous before I train. I have to really rile myself up. When I push up with 220 kilos on a I do 100 kilos on a V squat or 120 on a free bar. When I have that weight on my back, there's always that little fear that you could get injured. Now Ryan, because I have an injury in my lower back, Ryan is afraid that he's going to get injured when he squats. But rather than, I still risk the injury, but I do everything that I can to mitigate it. Like I rather than pull back on the weight, I learn more about the transverse abdominis and turn it on. I learn more about how to protect myself so I can still push really hard and go heavy. Ryan just doesn't go heavy. So Ryan protects himself in a different way. He protects himself by staying out of the danger zone. I go into the danger zone, but I put on my helmet, my knee pads, my elbow pads, my fucking beekeeper outfit. Like I will armor myself and go into the danger zone and take that risk. Whereas Ryan does not armor himself because he stays out of the danger zone. So emotionally, he never has to armor up for those heavy, heavy weights, because he never lifts them, because he never pushes that far out of his comfort zone. And so therefore he can't even understand me when he's standing behind me and I'm going, I don't know, I'm not feeling it today. And I'm going, 2 more. He's standing there and he can't even try on what that feels like for me. He just thinks I'm having a wee talk with myself. I'm having a wee, 2 more, not really feeling it. And he's thinking projectively, you know about projection because I teach all the time. He's just thinking that I feel like he feels whenever he's got a squat rack on a bar on his back, which is, yeah, it's heavy and it's a bit uncomfortable, but it's not that uncomfortable. So if he was ever going, I don't know that I'm feeling it today, he would kind of be maybe teetering on the edge of his comfort zone. Whereas I'm already like hook, line and sinker. I've jumped off the edge and I'm fucking sinking, baby. When that bar's on my back, I've taken a risk, but he can't try on what that's like because he doesn't put himself in there. And that doesn't make him a bad person, by the way. It doesn't make you a bad person if you don't do it. But what I want you to get really, 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 really real on, what I want you to be completely in reality about is don't lie to yourself. Okay, don't kid yourself. Pride is a terrible thing. When Ryan and I talked about this the other morning when we were walking, he tried to defend the fact, no, I do go past my comfort zone. No, I do. I'm comfortable. It's because of the injury. I said, Ryan, it's really not because of your injury. I said, I understand that you're scared of, injuring yourself and, you're nearly 50 and you were a professional rugby player and all that. But I've known you for 16 years and you're not the type of person to go outside your comfort zone willingly. And that's what stops you from training hard in the gym. And that's what stops you from being an intuitive spotter. And that's not bad. It's just different. Okay. But here's the difference. Ryan doesn't really want to build massive amounts of muscle. He really doesn't want to change his physique that much, because if he did, he would make himself more uncomfortable. He wants it, but he doesn't want it badly enough. So my question to you is, how badly do you want it? Because everything that I do, I can't even try on, because I have it naturally on the inside. And if you don't have it naturally on the inside, where you just don't go to failure in everything that you do and take risks, then you have to ask yourself, how badly do you want it? Because you might not want it that much. And that's okay, but don't lie to yourself. Don't pretend that you're doing more. Don't blame the diet, or blame the meal plan, or blame the workout program, or blame the fact that you just did it with the resistance bands and Kim Constable told you that you would get good results and you didn't, so it's her fault. Just take a long, hard look at yourself and say, well, where does my responsibility lie here? And did I really push that hard? Can I be honest with myself and say that I kind of felt like how Kim's describing it now? Because I would imagine if you're 80% of the world, you probably didn't. Okay, you probably didn't. And the main reason I've been successful isn't because of any system I've used, or emails that I've sent, or webinars that I've done, or 5-day challenges, or anything like that. Or even in bodybuilding, it's not the gym program, or it's not the fact that I've had Mark as my training partner. Because let me tell you, I thought that when I convinced Ryan to come and train with me and Mark, that Ryan's body would explode. I just thought, oh my God, because I didn't even know it was me before. I thought it was Mark pushed me. I used to say, oh, I love Mark because he just knows, he just pushes me so hard. And then whenever Ryan came to train with us, and I realized Ryan didn't let Mark push him. Not only did he not let him push him, Mark didn't even try and push Ryan. And I was like, what's wrong with you? Why are you not putting more weight on? Don't let him off with that. He didn't even fail. Why would you not make him do another set? And Mark was like, well, he doesn't want to do another set. He doesn't do another set. I can't force him. And then I realized I had this moment, this epiphany one day, and even sent Mark a message. I was like, holy shit, all along I thought it was you. But it's not you, it's me. And he said, of course it's you. It's always been you. That sounds like a movie, doesn't it? Mark was like, it's always been you. I've never pushed you harder than you're willing to push yourself. He said, Kim, there's very few people are willing to go there like you are. He said, that's why I love training with you, because you come in here and you give it your all. He said, most people don't do that. I was like, really? He was like, no, Kim. Like, I couldn't even understand how people didn't do this. I was like, why would anyone come train in the gym if they don't give it their all? And he said, because people are afraid of being uncomfortable. And so whenever Ryan went to train with us, I realized, oh my God, it's not Mark. Mark's not pushing me. It's me pushing me. And that was a massive epiphany for me. And so you have to get out of the fact of whether you're listening to this for a business reason or a personal reason or a bodybuilding reason, you have to stop kidding yourself that if you just figured out the right system, you'd get the results. If you just had the perfect supplement stack and the perfect workout, even if you had a PT, if you didn't have to train in your home gym and you had a professional gym to train in, or if you had a home gym like Kim Constable, or if you could just spend like a month with Kim Constable or 6 months, and actually that's going to be an option. I'm offering a 6-month mentorship program with me personally, with the $1 Million Mentor. But people say, oh, if I could only spend 6 months with Kim Constable, I'll have her success. If I can just learn her systems and meet her team and get her financials and all of her emails and her launch documents and figure out how she creates a program, I can have her success. No, you won't. 85% of people, 90% of people won't. You know why? Because it ain't the system that makes you successful. It's what you have on the inside. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to risk failing, and you have to seek discomfort and don't stop until you get it. I risk and I fail, and I risk and I fail, and I risk and I fail. And that is the reason why I'm successful. It isn't because of a system that I've used. It's because I'm not afraid of failure. And so to sum up this podcast, it actually got really long, but dear God, I've enjoyed recording it. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Right? Pushing a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more makes the journey long and slow and frustrating. And you have to stop lying to yourself and pretending that you're doing more than you are. Most people just lie to themselves. I see it all the time in our programs. I see it in Buns and Guns at the minute. They're lying to themselves about, and they post these pictures where they're in the butt camp. I don't really see it in Buns and Guns yet, but in all the other programs, they post these pictures and they're like, these are my 7-week progress pictures and I'm really disappointed. And I look at them and I'm like, yeah, you haven't been working. They're like, I have. I've been working so hard. I'm like, no, you haven't, sweetheart. Because if you actually followed the program for the last 7 weeks, unless you have a medical condition which would stop you from losing body fat, it's a physical impossibility that you've been following the program the way it's supposed to be followed. The body doesn't lie, just like the bank account doesn't lie if you're working hard in your business. You know, it's the amount of effort you put in is in direct correlation with the results that you will get in anything that you do in life. I get the best results. I make millions of dollars. I fucking shop in Louis Vuitton and take my family on $10,000 weekends to London because I'm willing to get up at 4 a.m., 3:30 a.m., whatever, for weeks on end. I'm willing to come to the office and record this podcast because I will not let myself off the hook with recording my weekly podcast because I made a commitment to myself and to you that I would show up. And sometimes I have to choose differently, and I do, and I don't beat myself up for it. Sometimes the podcast didn't get recorded, okay? I had to choose differently, and that's okay. But 99.9% of the time, I'm persistent. I show up even when I don't want to. I see the value in what I'm doing, and I don't let myself off the hook. But you have to decide to go there. It's a decision that you have to make, and you have to decide to not only accept it, to embrace it. And when you do, you will enjoy unparalleled levels of success. I promise. I just realized I've been talking for 1 hour and 17 minutes. So hopefully you're still with me and you haven't like nodded off, but I'm sure you probably finished your cardio or whatever it is that you were doing for 60 minutes expecting me to stop blabbering on. But hopefully you did enjoy this. Oh my God, I so enjoyed recording this. I love it when I'm all fired up for recording a podcast. And so hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed it. Please, please, please don't forget to leave me a review. Or just, write something really lovely. I love reading the reviews. If you can take a moment, even if you don't want to win a program, if you can take a moment out of your day to write a review and send it to me and tell me what you enjoy about this podcast, because honestly, it gives me life reading your reviews. I love reading them because they get emailed through to me by iTunes every time they're left. So please do leave me a review. I would just love to read what you want from this podcast. And also, we send out, one last thing before I go, we send out a weekly email with the podcast, with the link to the podcast to our list. And last couple of weeks, I asked for people to reply to the emails to tell me what subjects they wanted me to cover on the podcast. So I did this for 2 reasons. The first one is because I genuinely want to know what you guys want to hear. A lot of menopause requests. All those emails are being sent directly to me. And so a lot of menopause requests, which is really fantastic. And what else? Oh yeah, so what I was going to say was, if you're on our email list and you do get that email with the weekly podcast, I would love for you to reply to the email, because my team is putting all the responses into a spreadsheet, and then I'm going to go through the spreadsheet and we're going to do some kind of data correlation to see what people most want to listen to, and that's going to help us to create our future programs and freebies and all that stuff as well. So it is nice if you send it to me on Instagram. It's even better if you respond to the email. So a heartfelt plea from me: if you enjoy this content, please just take 2 seconds out of your day and do something to give back, which is don't send me an email. I want you to reply to the email. The reason why I want you to reply to that one is because our open rates in Infusionsoft have been hurt really badly recently, because we had a lot of spam traps in our massive email list. We have an enormous email list. And so if you respond to the email, it actually really boosts our delivery content. I don't know, I'm not an expert in it, but it really does boost. If people respond to your emails on your email list, it boosts your delivery rates, your open rates, and more of them are delivered. So don't ask me why they're not delivered. It's really heartbreaking to spend all that time and effort getting people's contacts for your email list to not even have the fucking emails delivered. But anyway, Hotmail and Yahoo and Gmail just hate us. What can I say? Guys, this was awesome. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed chatting to you, and I will chat to you next week for another episode of the Kim Constable podcast. Look out for the milliondollarmentor.com. It'll probably be live tomorrow, which is Thursday, oh my God, don't even know what date it is today. Let me just check my watch. Thursday the 4th of June 2021. No, Thursday Start again. Thursday, the 3rd of June, 2021. It should be live by then. If you're listening to this any other time, then it's probably not relevant, but go to themilliondollarmentor.com to sign up for the free 5-day challenge, which is how to create, run, and scale your own 7-figure online business in a 5-day training, completely and utterly free for you. And I hope to see you inside the training, and I will definitely chat to you next week on the podcast. But for now, all that is left to say is adios, and I love you all so much, and thank you so much for listening. Can't wait to chat to you again. Have a wonderful rest of the week wherever you are, and bye for now.